Thank you very much. Thank you very much. What Ibrahim is simply addressing is part and parcel of the problems identified by Samahu Anu, talking about the activities and operations of the NSAK. This NSAK were given unlimited power and unlimited authority in Zamfara. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Zamfara and this is Sokoto. All these things were happening and nobody cares. Nobody bothers to find out what actually is the root of this problem. What Samawu Anu is saying and Ibrahim from Gajeren Kaye is that they are not denying the fact that there are criminal elements among them, but they need to be identified, they need to be prosecuted according to the law of the land. That is not what is happening. The sponsors of these people we call the NSAK are alive. They are alive today. In 2014, the same members of the vigilante group, the same bandit mobilized and they moved to Edgaladima. That was when they go for vengeance. I will tell you actually what happened. Yeah. Then we now look at all these things were happening. We have the rise of the bandit gangs. And then who is the leader? The leader was Kondu. Kondu was the head of these people we talk about because Kondu was part and parcel of those that were compensated by the political class. He mobilized Buhari. They moved to the wood, that is to the forest, and they started planning. Unfortunately, ladies and gentlemen, Kondu actually was killed by Buhari in 2013. And when he succeeded in doing that, then Buhari Daji became the hero. I am not using the word hero, I'm using the word hero in relative term. Because he was the leader, and then he was also during this period in control of all the bandits in Zamfara. The moment you are alive and you call yourself a bandit, you must have respect for Soho. You must have respect for Buhari General. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm not talking about my respected president. Rather, that is the name and that is how they call him. His own general is after his name. He is Buhari General, and what we have Nigeria is General Muhammadu Buhari. So at this point in time, ladies and gentlemen, it is a household name in rural Zamfara. The moment you mention Buhari, actually people became afraid. What are you saying? Because he is something or somebody that most of the bandit feels he is not even a human being. Because of what? Because of his magical power and because of the influence he was having on the new emerging bandits gang. It was Buhari that was responsible for the recruitment of what? Of members when they form up the Ungiya Gayu. And this Ungiya Gayu historically was actually a union of youth who actually share common feelings about what? About their grievances. About what? About the social injustice. About what? About the operatives or the injustice of the security operatives against what they call the Fulani race or the Fulani people. And Buhari did all the recruitments at the point in time, and the pattern of recruitment is something else. Because he identified all the major Fulani families in Zamfara and he demanded for money. You either give me money or you actually give one of your boy to become part of us. Those of them that were rich enough were actually giving out money. But the demand for money, it is a continuous process. So they feel, yeah, I think the best thing we can now do is let us now sacrifice Ibrahim. Join them. And that was how Buhari was able to recruit large number of followers. And that is what made Buhari very, very notorious. when the gang actually reached a certain number, they then transformed from the Kungiyar Gayu I am talking about, the youth wing, to what? To what they call the Cattle Rustlers Association. Unfortunately, the people they call the Fulani or the pastoralists were the first and the major victims. Because you talk about rustling, ordinarily, I am not disputing the fact that the sedentary population doesn't own cattle. They do. But when you look at the quantity, for instance, belongs to the Fulani, they remain up till today the major victims. Ladies and gentlemen, I don't want to sound ethnic, but the fact remains that if you want to understand the quantum of the problem, go to the rural areas and see the way and manner the rural economy was actually destroyed completely and absolutely. This is the youth wing we are talking about. This is basically the Kungiyar Gayu. When they transformed into what? Into Cattle Rustlers Association. And they became very, very notorious. They are called Kungiyar Gayu because some of them actually traveled to the southern part of the country. They came back with their pidgin English, with a little idea of Western civilization, and then they became Gayu. You can see some of them actually wearing glasses, and you can see how and manner they were able to transform all of a sudden. The cattle I am talking about, the philosophy and rationale behind the formation of the Cattle Rustlers Association is to get cattle, sell, and get money. Wow. Can we please go to the next slide? Okay. When Buhari became notorious, powerful and stronger than any other person, for instance, there was the emergence of this his friend. They are childhood friends, related to some extent, some said by blood. With who? With Dogo Gide. His name is Abu Bakr. When he joined the Boko Haram, he became Abu Abdallah. He was responsible for the killing of, please can we see the picture of Buhari Ndaji? Yeah. The picture of Buhari Ndaji, please. Now. Thank you very much. This is the person I'm talking about responsible for the recruitment. He was actually killed by Dogo Gide. And there are a lot of arguments and the counter arguments on why the assassination of the assassination of Buhari Ndaji by Gide. Ladies and gentlemen, the son of Buhari Ndaji, who is Aliyu Zakoi. Please, can I see his picture? Can I see his picture, please? Aliyu Zakoi. Quickly, please. Thank you very much. Aliyu was a young boy and was part and parcel of the foot soldiers of his father. Unfortunately, he knows the relationship between his father and Gide, and he has the belief that the assassination of his father by Gide, because of the trust they have for each other, and also because of the relationship, is actually a plot by a particular group of people. And that is why he became also very, very notorious. But unfortunately for Zakoi, for instance, Gide has gone beyond his imagination and beyond his understanding, to the point that Zakoi today has repented. He is now living an urban life, and he says there is no way he can get rid of Gide. Thank you very much. Please, can we go to the next slide? Yeah. So the first incident, ladies and gentlemen, and historically, what actually served as a trigger to the conflict is nothing other than the killing and the brutal assassination of Al-Haji Ishe. Al-Haji Ishe, he is actually the eldest person in the oldest clan in Dan Sadao. Overnight, he was brutally killed by members of the Nsakai. And this is somebody that has more than 250 people under him. And this was a trigger. He was killed, and they have no option other than to what? Other than to move out, sell the remaining cards, get money for what? For weapons. When we are talking also about when this was going on 2014, 2015, there was the infiltration of foreign elements. The Chadians, Malians, Nigerians, and the Senegalese actually joined what? They joined the bandits. And when they joined the bandits, they succeeded in transforming radically and drastically the operations of what? The operations of these bandits. They supply arms and ammunition, they supply training, they supply guidance, they supply virtually all sorts of things. Then from 2015-16, ladies and gentlemen, we observe an absolute transformation drastically and radically by this actually bandit. And let us look at the profile. The person we are seeing here is Dogo Gide. Dogo Gide has changed his name from Dogo Gide when he was a bandit to Abu Abdullah when he joined members of the Boko Haram. And his argument is he doesn't kill, he doesn't kidnap, he doesn't steal. Rather, he has the belief and maintain the ideology of what? And maintain the ideology of Boko Haram. And he is the major link. But the argument remains that Dogo Gide is to some extent part of some of these issues we are talking about. Look at it. He actually succeeded in the kidnapping and abduction of school children. Ladies and gentlemen, according to him, for instance, his child, whether biological or otherwise, was in the school where the abduction took place for over 5 months, and he was giving him intelligence. It was when he feels, yeah, he is okay with the level and the gravity of the information that he needs, that is when he strikes. He has his own grievances. And to tell you that our educational institutions are not in any way safe. The argument here is the boy was in school, nobody cares, nobody bothers to find out, to take even roll call of the number of students. And he was operating, and he said he counted virtually all the students, and he gave them intelligence on a daily basis before he was actually able to strike. And the deed, I'm sorry to say, was done. Can we move to the next slide? Mr. Vice Chancellor, sir, I believe this face is very familiar with you. At a point in time, he is calling himself Endo Tonsafe. Because of what? Because of the power. Ado Aleru, which of course he was called Adamu Aleru, but his name is Ado, he is from Ekuzo. What is he into? His own area of specialization is buying of kidnapped victims. He will go into bargaining. You've succeeded in kidnapping these boys, I will give you 500,000, or I will give you $1 million naira, and then let me shoulder the responsibility. He will bargain because he has bargaining power, and he was also into collection of different taxes from the communities. Some will even call him Sariki Ado. Please, can we go to the next slide? Okay. The person we are seeing here is Bello Turuji. He is in fact the highest level of rural insecurity and rural banditry is to Turuji and to Turuji alone. To date, if you mention Sunan Bello or you mention the name of Bello to Ekagara, his mother, she will say Allah is a mini. She has no business with him. She has disowned him. He is not in any way associated with her. Because of what? Because of his notoriety. The father also has no business whatsoever with Turiji. Unfortunately, at a point in time, the father, as we all know, was actually arrested by the security operatives, and we know what actually happened. At the moment, we don't know the situation of Turiji because Zamfara is in the dark. So whatever argument we are actually going to raise or we see on social media, we should just take it by its face value. Please, can we move to the next slide? Wow. The person we are seeing here is no any other person than Alhaji Auta. Alhaji Auta is in Birnin Magaji. Not in Birnin Magaji town, he is actually in Gidan Kaso. Not in Gidan Kaso, he is in Ukia. That is where he stays. He is the leader of Birnin Magaji bandits. Look at the way he is seated, composed, and comfortable. Alhaji Auta made it very clear, just like what we said about Samail Anu, for instance, he was also assassinated. His father was killed in his presence. He said he sold out the cattle. He moved to Ibadan. From Ibadan to Lagos, he made a phone call. His cattle were sold. He got money, and he also came back with his own AK-47. And today, I don't really know what is happening, but he is actually in charge of the Birnin Magaji. Please, can we move to the next slide quickly? Wow. This is Tankaremi. Tankaremi of Zurmi. He is also notorious. And ladies and gentlemen, there is no cordiality, no good relationship between Tankaremi of Zurmi and Alhaji Auta of Birnin Magaji. They are always in war, conflict, and also in crisis with one another, with each and every one of them saying that if I have the opportunity, I will kill you and I will also destroy your gang. So there is that issue of inter and intra-bandit gang rivalry, and that rivalry until recently is the major killer of bandits. Major killer of bandits in the sense that they move into conflict with one another and they end up ambushing each other and also getting rid of one another, just like what we observe in the case of Buhari and Daji and the Dogon. Please, can we move to the next slide? This is Ali Khawaji. Ali Khawaji, or Ali Kachalla as he is called, he is the major after Dogogide member of the Boko Haram in the northwest. He was responsible, for instance, he is associated with Boko Haram, and he was responsible for the recruitment of bandits to the Boko Haram. One interesting thing about Ali Khawaji and his operations is that he succeeded in the recruiting, and also some members that were recruited or fighters that were sent from Borno and other parts of the northeast, for instance, were sent to some part of Zamfara, and then at the end of the day, when they came to Zamfara, they abandoned and they do away with the ideology of what? With the ideology of Boko Haram, because they said Zamfara is a world of unlimited opportunities and unlimited resources. They no longer associate themselves with the bandit, rather they became, with the Boko Haram, rather they became members of the bandit and also integrated into the bandit. We have Alhaji Butere and the rest of them. Please, can we quickly move to the next slide? Okay. You see, the fundamental objective of every gang, Zamfara and elsewhere, is to acquire actually more than weapons. We are going to see the way and manner these weapons were acquired. Some of these weapons that they acquire were not in any way meant to get rid of their civilian enemies. In some cases, they were meant to instill fear in the minds of their fellow bandit gangs. The case of the inter and intra-gang rivalry I am talking about. In the case of the Boko Haram, thank you, we observe the presence of Boko Haram in some parts of Zamfara. And what do we observe? We observe flags written Allahu Akbar, saying that they are members of the Boko Haram. We also observe some of these members preaching, saying that they are also members of the Boko Haram. And not only that, we observe signposts in some places around Ansado area, for instance, and other dudes in Okambu and other important areas around Ansado with signposts with Arabic inscription, telling that there are actually foreign elements in what? In some of these members. And besides the Ali Kachalla I talk about, there is Dogo Balle Dogo Ali, and who else? Dogo Cherokee, Dogo Gudale, and Sani Buta and Jambros. These are people associated with the Boko Haram. And these are same people that I said they done away with the idea of the Boko Haram and they became bandits. Not only ordinary, rather major bandits. We've talked about that. Alhaji Shehu Shingi is also in Zulmi. He is also a major link, playing an important role for the bandits and also the Boko Haram. Please, can we move to the next slide? Source of arms. Ladies and gentlemen, just like I said, the Chadians, the Malians, the Senegalese that joined them later, some of them were on invitation, came with their weapons and they succeeded in the transformation of the activity. Yes, please, next slide, quickly. Yeah, Halilu and Shehu rockets that we've seen are the major suppliers of deadly weapons in some of these areas. And we also observe people moving from one location to another to what? To just see, observe, and snap picture with newly arrived weapon. Quickly, please. Don't worry. In the case of Halilu and Shehu rocket, their areas, they have CCTV cameras, they have drones for what? For intelligence gathering, and that is also very important. Members of other less powerful gangs, yeah, we've also seen, next slide please. Okay, the use of women and children, that is the area of the gender-based, the gender perspective to some of these issues. Use of women and children as couriers. We all know the porosity and the nature of our borders, for instance. Women and children living along the border in some areas were experts transporters, expert couriers in terms of what? In terms of supplying and the movement of some of the small arms and the light weapons. Moreover, the criminals, particularly the so-called repentant bandits, have dislodged the multiple agents and became either importers or local transporters of arms. When some of these bandits became tired of the bandit life and the rural banditry, they retired. They retired as what? They retired as major suppliers of arms and ammunition to some of these bandits. Please, can we? Yeah. Even with that, there is still Igbo gun runners, retailers, and drug barons. Ladies and gentlemen, this conflict is a multidimensional, multi-ethnic conflict. We shouldn't just look at it from a particular perspective. Some of these retailers are there playing a very important role within the context of what? Within the context of the supply chain. The smaller gangs relied on the stronger ones for guidance, supervision, and supply of arms. We also see supply of arms coming from members of the Boko Haram, ISWAP, and Ansaru. Next slide, please. Quickly. Okay, this is also another important area, ladies and gentlemen, where we see the idea of arm renting. The increasing number of gangs and the corresponding demand for operational tools led to the proliferation of different gun retailers. A bandit who is sick and tired of banditry may decide to retire as what? As somebody that retail or give out what? Arms to the younger and the new coming bandits to go and operate on a particular arrangement. These are mostly, in some cases, repentant bandits. Okay. There is also a fixed price for each and every gun. There is also a fixed price for each and every AK-47 that is actually collected. Depending on what? Depending on what? Depending on the usage. That is also another important issue. Please, can we move to the next slide? Yeah. With the use of the rented guns, young bandits have over time acquired their personal working tools, as they call it. The problem of rented gun is that besides its outdatedness, most have been overused by either the owners or the renters. there is also a large number of young boys living in the neighboring villages that serve as part-time bandits. Ladies and gentlemen, the major challenge is the issue of the part-time and the full-time bandits. We see people living in the immediate community that we consider to be innocent may end up being what? They may end up being part-time bandits. Rent a gun in the evening, operate in the night, and return it back the next morning, and they claim innocent. That is a major problem and also a major challenge. Next slide, please. Yeah, the involvement of teenage boys, girls, and married women in the conflict complicated rural banditry in the states. Dan Karami, Halilu, Shehu Rocket, Turji, Alhaji Shehu Shingi all have designated places where they keep people that they succeeded in abducting. And that is where in some cases you see young girls of 10, 15 with their AK-47 looking after some of these victims. The situation is absolutely annoying. Not only that, we've also seen situations where I have a daughter, I am an innocent person in the village with what? With my heads of cattle, for instance. With my heads of cattle, okay. With my heads of cattle, for instance, I need protection. All I need to do, identify a leader, a notorious leader, and then give my daughter to him. For what? For protection. We've seen cases where people saying, please, I want you to divorce my daughter, let her go, I want her to be married to an active bandit. That is also a very serious problem. I interviewed one of them that said, yeah, he actually married one in 2016, and the remaining two were given to him because of what? Because of his military, what he called the military might. Can we please move to the next slide? Yeah. Conclusion. Armed bandits are becoming more sophisticated in strength, tactics, and connections. It is no longer doubted that the gangs have transnational networks with smaller gangs across different parts of West Africa. This is demonstrated with their contact and connection, with the terrorist group. Next slide. This year, that is 2021, the bandits could have been celebrating what? A decade of their operations and activities. Fortunately for us, and unfortunately for them, they are in a very serious dilemma. If I should borrow the word of the president, they are treated in the language they understand. Next slide. Please, next slide. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen, for listening. But I also want to tell you that Murtala Ahmed RUFA'I is not in any way a bandit, but a field researcher, no more, no less.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you.
I hope and I appeal, you shouldn't eat me raw. You shouldn't eat me raw. I am a field researcher. Ladies and gentlemen, we should know, as a student of history, there are information that you need to chew and swallow. There are information that you need to chew and vomit. That is why I am vomiting. When I was asked to present something like this, I thank God that Professor Babua has seen the book, and he has also dealt very seriously with the methodological question. I was confused. Where should I start? Which topic am I to address? Understanding the convoluted nature of the conflict, understanding the delicate nature of rural banditry. And that is why I came out with this. It is a public lecture. What is expected is to ginger, to prick the conscience of researchers, not students of history like Murtala. Murtala is just learning. He is a beginner. I am just starting. In the case of the contact of these bandits, I am not disputing the fact that I have contacts, and these contacts are with the repentant bandits. Go to Metropolitan Gusau today. Ask of Audullahi Boratai. He is a free person like you and I. You can engage him with a discussion from morning to night, and he will open up. Go to Gusau, go to Katsina, go to virtually all these areas. Awolun Daudawa was in Dampa as a repentant. I had an interview with him, and he was given all the opportunity, and he responded to some of these questions. Somebody raised the question, Abdullahi Adamu, about the military operation. It is something that is ongoing. It is ongoing and it is unending. We cannot make any comment about it. Just like I said, there are information meant for public consumption, and that is what I am saying. And when you look at the paper, I don't really have respect for it because the recommendations are not there. They are silenced because they are not meant for your consumption. There are better places, better avenues, and better agencies that may want to have an understanding of these recommendations. Koshabawa, I did not in any way say the origin of rural banditry is with the Nsakai. Rather, I trace the origin to 1891. Lokacin Sarkin Musulmi, Ma'azu Ɗanbello, where were the Nsakai then? 181891. Are we there? So it is actually something to bring out. Probably somebody will pick an interest in studying the ancient or the ancient form of banditry. And if he likes, he can probably provide the connection. The book, if God's willing, is going to be published, and probably you share a copy. You will see how the issues were unfolding over time. And to give you a very good example, in 1975, Yusuf Kantu actually led a movement, Isa Sabon Birni and Shinkafi, anti-Fulani sentiments. My friend Mustafa, I did not mention Fulani. And I don't think the bandits are fundamentally Fulani. The question is, where do you place the Igbo retailers of these arms and ammunitions? Are they Fulani? Where do you place the Gubirawa bandits in Birnin Magaji, in Gidankasu, in Ukia? Where do you place the Kanuri bandits in some of these areas? Ladies and gentlemen, please, we shouldn't be using this ethnic connotation, Fulani bandit, Fulani bandit, Fulani bandit. We are behaving like Lugat. When he came to northern Nigeria, he said Fulani Jihad. And today we are saying Fulani bandit. Without looking at what? Without looking at the implication of some of these issues. And I'm telling you, we at times look at some of these people we call Fulani, they are not in any way Fulani. Dan Arami said he is Fulani. There are a lot of issues like that. Why are we giving ethnic coloration to some of these issues? This is something that is done by the media, particularly the Western propaganda, to spoil and dent the image of the Fulani. There is actually an attempt to link the activities of bandits with the Sokoto Jihad. There are two different phenomena that happen in two different worlds. No relation, no connection, no interaction, no anything, no. Lastly, I think Sifawa talk about the perpetrators is also not for your consumption, please. If you know them, what are you going to do? Virtually nothing. So I don't think it is something that should be in the public domain. It is an ongoing research. And that is why I am presenting a fraction of what? Of the research. It's just a fraction. And that is why I was asked to call the title, I am a bandit. Murtalaba bandit bunny. I am not and never a bandit, and I will never be one. God grace.
Okay, thank you very much. Take some water before you take another round. Professor M.P. Wasabusa, it's your turn.
In your slide, I saw something like federal government guest college Yaori. That is not correct. It's federal government college. It's both boys and girls. So, academic forum, we should take a look at that.
Thank you.
And then secondly, in the academic forum presentation, you did a wonderful job in bringing out what you did in the field, whether it was ethnography or whatever methodology, I don't know. But in academic forum, you present facts, whatever they are. Let me say your findings. We expect at the end of your findings, you give us your recommendations, no matter how small. You can't just make presentations with serious findings like this without making recommendations. Because, for example, you painted the LSAK as some of the people that, ignited the Fulani people to go and find someone. What should be done to LSAK? Disbanded them, or what should be done?
Yes.
The issue is there should be a recommendation, no matter how small. You can't make presentation without recommendation. Not in an academic forum. If it's a public lecture, fine. This is public and academic. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. This is a question from James, all the way from People's Republic of China. Question to Dr. RUFA'I. Sir, in your research, you pointed out about the local network of more than 10,000 bandits alone in Zamfara State.
Yeah.
What is the future of downtrodden in such environments and long-term solution to lingering crises both at national and regional level? From James, all the way from China. Then I have two other written questions here. Mr. Presenter, thank you very much for a wonderful presentation. You talk about situation of bandits in some part of Zamfara, but you skip other areas like Mada. I want to believe it's from Mada, and it environs in the activities of bandits is absent. Is it absent there? Then the other question says, why government allowed informers around community, and many of them are well known and events they are got, why are they released? I'm reading the question the way they are written. The second one, what advice can you give to government and students and parents to encourage them to continue to study in Zamfara State because they know how kidnappers and bandits used to enter our schools and kidnap our students? Thank you. Another one, these are online questions. Please, my question is the issue of informant. Please, what is the position of informant in these issues of banditry? Thank you.
Hi. From the latter, I was in Niger, in Shiroro, in Pakungu, and other areas. And there is actually the issue of a mixture of different ethnic groups. Bagi, or who you call the Gware bandits. There were Nupe people in it. There were Kamoko people in it. There were the Kukuruku also in it. And this is something that is actually done, I think, very recently. And actually, that is actually the aspects which probably we can discuss later. And one interesting thing, since I am actually pushed to the wall, we've observed the formation, Professor, thank you very much for that question. We've observed the formation of La Kuruji, specifically in Gumi Emirates. And this La Kuruji people or wing are fundamentally a group of vigilante group, a vigilante group with a combination of different ethnic groups. The Lakuruje have reduced significantly the rates of rural banditry in Gumi Emirates, and they have the best system so far we've studied about the approach towards to the rural insecurity. I think this is part of the recommendation. If we can have such a thing or organization or association, it will actually go a long way. Yeah, in terms of the methodology and also the future of these areas, it is actually also a very important issue to look at. If you have the paper, you have in the appendix, there is actually a list of different bandit gangs and also the membership. These are fundamentally and basically youth. And in terms of what? In terms of generating that data, the data actually came from the rural areas, particularly from the combination of the repentant bandits 1, members of the vigilante 2, and members of the NSAK 3. I am not saying that that data is perfect. It is rather a mere approximation plus or minus. So, in terms of what? In terms of the future of these rural areas, ladies and gentlemen, when the storm is over, we should go into de-radicalization process. And that will assist significantly and fundamentally in de-radicalizing the radicals. Beyond what? Beyond either the passive or the active bandits. I think this is my stake. Other questions, comments, and observations are actually noted and noted in good faith. Thank you.
Quickly, is from somebody in Vice Chancellor's office. If I don't do that, when next we have appointment with the VC, they may block us. So I want to join others in congratulating the researcher and by extension the university for this success. My question is, the research has pointed out the banditry is as old as perhaps the Zamfara Kingdom. The research should have, the research should emphasize clearly how in the past banditry was solved, so that even if the research is not giving some recommendations for security reasons, the audience will have an idea as to how it was solved before with a view to solving the present situation.
Thank you very much for that wonderful one. But historically, what we observe in the Caliphate, and I believe Professor Tukur Baba knows that better than me, there was actually during the period of Sultan Muhammad Bello, the recruitment of what they call the cattle guards. Professor Murilas has written extensively on the policy of the Caliphate in carving issues of rural banditry, rural insecurity, and the farmer-herder conflicts. These guards, for instance, were given all the religious knowledge. They move around with the nomads or with the pastoralists. At every point in time, they stop, they pray, they teach them different ethics of the religion and also the practice of the religion, and they continued. And they are paid right here in Sokoto. Not only that, when Logat came on board, because of the problem of rural insecurity, he established what he called caravan tolls. And these are areas he identified as checkpoints, entry and exit points into what? Into the province. Where are you going? Why are you going? Where you are going? What are you carrying? And how do you get what you have? All these are issues of stock taking, of what? Of the movement of people and their activities. And that reduced the issue of cattle rustling, rural banditry, and other aspects of cattle rural insecurity significantly. Ladies and gentlemen, this is something that we cannot exhaust here. And the essence of this presentation is not in any way perfect. rather to create and identify gaps where scholars of international repute, not people like Murtala, will go in and will come out with new knowledge so that we can save this country from what? From the bandit regime. Thank you very much.
To be answered by other instances. What we have done here is to give members of the public a hint of the genesis, evolution, and characterizations and characteristics of rural banditry. We are to provide a platform where those that matters will take up from there. As I said from the beginning, we are available to midwife any processes that will bring peace to all, be it the bandits themselves or the victims. Ours is to provide a platform where peace can prosper for our motherland. Neither those living in the bush, neither the bandits themselves, majority of them, they were forced into this by circumstances. If I read between the lines what Murtala said, I had an intensive discussion with him. We are in between whether we should allow this at the university to happen or we should stop it, or whether we should gang Murtala or not to gang him, whether it should be purely academic or we should leave it open. We decided to leave it open. That's why some of the academical issues that need to have been addressed by him were skipped. They were deliberately skipped because we are asking him to do that. We want it to be a normal public lecture. I was asked whether in public lecture question and answer are not entertained. I say this is a special topic that will arouse interest of so many of us. Let's allow few questions, not because we don't want discussions, simply because we want it to be treated as a public lecture. Thank you. May Almighty Allah be with us. May He bring peace to our motherland. Assalamu alaikum.
I wish to express our appreciation, first and foremost, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, for giving us the opportunity to attend this lecture. I believe we have learned a lot, we have had a lot, and we shall continue to work on what we have learned from the presenter. As well as we really appreciate for the approval you have given and your presence. Our guests from Kebbi State Special Advisor on Security, Sia, sir, we say thank you. The head of service, Sokoto State, Allied Potential, say a big thank you for your presence. There will be no time for us to mention all names, but I am grateful on behalf of the people at Shield to say a big thank you to our elders that are here from South, from Kebbi and other parts of the country. We say a big thank you. And finally, we say thank you to our students that are here, both returning and the newly admitted students. I hope you will continue to attend our lectures. Whenever you see our notices, you are welcome here. And we say, may Allah take all everyone here back home safely. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Solve the problems of our country, of our land. It is not beyond your power. It is within your power, absolutely. And we thank you to continue to guide us and protect us. Subhana rabbika رب العزة عما يصفون وسلام على المرسلين والحمد لله رب العالمين.